Fortunately, this is rare, everybody who had damage was insured. It still was a very expensive event. There so many people in the community poured out, and just with all the emergency services and overtime, and it became a really expensive event for our community, because even though all the homes that were destroyed were covered with insurance, the businesses, everything was covered, it was devastating for the people involved. I mean, emotionally, to have your home torn apart by a tornado is pretty terrible. The cleanup cost the community a lot of money. And Dexter's a really small town. It's only a couple thousand people. It's not a really wealthy town. It's not a poor town by any means. It's a great little village. I love it. And you know, we thought, what can we contribute? What can we bring to this community? People were showing up with, restaurants were showing up with food, and people were showing up, the local coffee roasters, you know, with coffee and whatnot. And I'm like, well, I don't know how appropriate it is to show up with a couple of kegs of beer at the shelter, you know, or the hotels where people are staying in the area. So I thought, you know what we can do? We brew beer. Let's brew a beer. We brewed a beer that for a long time was just titled Tornado Relief Beer. And the idea was to create this beer that was inspired by the tornado. And we worked with a few local and not so local friends of ours. We created this dark saison recipe because, you know, swirling dark tornado is what I'm thinking, clouds, and you know how the colors get all weird, and so it had to be a dark beer. And I brew saison, so I'm like, okay, we'll make a dark saison. And I started thinking about other things about the tornado and the days immediately afterwards, and there was a lot of coffee that was being drunk, and I thought we've got to have coffee. So we have some friends in Detroit, Great Lakes Coffee Company, and we worked with them. We got some great organic Ethiopian coffee from them. We have some friends in Iowa, Abanawas, our wholesaler there. They had recently experienced kind of a traumatic flood and catastrophe in their town, and so they were really excited and concerned. They were concerned for us and excited to be involved with helping, and they really wanted to do something. And I said, you know what, I'm trying to create this beer, and I'm trying to bring together these different elements. And they said, well, why don't we give you a spice blend? They also have an Algerian restaurant, and they're like, we can give you some North African spices. So you're using this Ethiopian coffee, and we can create this really interesting collaboration, spiced coffee tornado relief beer. I said, phenomenal. So they gave me some suggestions on some typical spices that they would use in their cooking, because one of the other smells for me of the tornado was every day when I would drive into the brewery, there's the food trucks that were out, that were giving away, you know, free meals to people. And so you would drive through and you'd get this mishmash of different food truck smells. And so I was thinking all these different spices, and the coffee, of course, everybody was drinking tons of coffee. It would come together in this stormy, dark beer. So we brewed the beer, and I decided we were going to donate all of the proceeds from this beer to the Dexter Tornado Relief Fund. So we came up with the name De Viento, of the wind, for this beer. We've released the draft version for the pubs, where we can get the biggest return on it, because we're selling at pints of it as opposed to selling just kegs. We're yet to release the bottles. Hopefully in a few weeks we'll release the bottled version of that. And again, once it's all tallied and whatnot, we'll send all of that to the Dexter Relief Fund and, you know, help the community kind of pay off some of those debts it incurred with all the emergency services and the cleanup and all that.